Welcome. Do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Exclusive.
On the headline, which says the BUHARi governors war. BUHARi governors war. And what that simply means is that for 3 consecutive days last week, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari issued a ringing rebuke of state governors on multiple fronts, employing both the subtle and the frontier. That's what it is. The floodgate was prized by a key appointee of the president, who rubbished the performance report card of the governors before the president came in bullshit 24 hours after, accusing the subnational leaders of stealing local government funds. President Muhammadu Buhari, as a public figure, has cut for himself the image of a leader who says a little and possibly acts a little on his own, but gets his aides and associates to fight his battles, whether administrative, political, or constitutional. He also rarely strays out of the prepared test as president. Now, but last week, he's off the script remark accusing governors of a grand larceny. It was uncharacteristically lengthy, suggesting that it was preconceived for an appropriate platform to be delivered. And this time, the president delivered a day after he fired the broadside at the governors. Another key aide seized on the bickering over the release of the 13% derivation deductions among benefiting states to release a comprehensive note of fund release to the 9 oil-producing states, among other financial issues. While the supplied data appeared a harmless clarification, the discerning saw through the presidency's deliberate act of further piling pressure on the state helmsmen and using same as some means of fighting back. Then, after 3 governors of oil-producing states of Edo, Delta, and Rivers railed at the president, with the governors on the back foot from the seemingly orchestrated attack from Abuja, a bipartisan slam of the president was eventually authorized at the weekend, with a non-constitutional body which binds all the 36 governors firing on all cylinders, and also practically calling the Nigerian leader a failure in governance. Analysts opine that the events of the last 5 days may have set for a mouth-watering blockbuster all-out war between the 2 layers of the executive branch, which is likely to be beyond the ongoing name-calling and possibly culminate in both sides deciding to wash each other's dirty linen in public. The tell-all unsolicited statement from presidential spokesman Garba on the massive revenue that had accrued to the state governor since the COVID-19 pandemic is being projected as the ugly turn the war may take. And the president himself appears to be in the mood, settling the stage with a veiled finger pointing that could degenerate into outright name and shame. In recalling his alleged personal experience of how governors steal from local governments straight into their private pockets, and how chairman of a council also allegedly mismanaging what is usually left of what should be public fund after governors have taken about half of it. Now the Nigerian leader only stopped at the point of mentioning names. He also hinted one of the thieving parties of his tale was a lawyer. Now, and though he wasn't too explicit with who was the lawyer between the governor and the chairman of his little expose, he had said enough about the land fellow for at least 3 governors. One billion lawyer had tackled the Nigerian leader almost immediately his allegation hit the public domain. The president also said enough for all the governors to be united against him, a rare occurrence in the life of his administration, which is always defended. It's always defended, whether right or wrong, by governors of states in the northern hemisphere of the nation. Interestingly, the few times the 36 governors had set aside partisanship to battle Abuja with BUHARi as president have been about him trying to free other institutions of government at the state level from the alleged stranglehold of the state governors, particularly the local government, state judiciary, and state legislature. In May 2019, as BUHARi was written for his swearing into second and final term in office, the 36 state governors under the umbrella of Nigerian Governors Forum went all out against the administration over an attempt by a federal agency, which is, in practical terms, also is directly answerable to the president to free local government cash from the claws of the governors. On May 1st of the said year, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit (NFIU), the nation's financial watchdog, now domiciled in the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), after being moved away from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), had issued a guideline to reduce vulnerabilities created by cash withdrawals from local government funds throughout the country. Now, the guideline and also what it will take, among others, sought to systematically restore councils' financial autonomy. It also limited the cash amount that could be withdrawn from any local government to 500,000 a day. The governors would have none of it. The chairman of the NGF, who was the governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, argued that the NFIU's order to governors not to touch revenues disbursed to local governments every month from the federation account was unconstitutional. The governors united in purpose summoned an emergency meeting, Yari making their protestation known then. He said the forum NGF is concerned with recent guidelines of the NFIU, which seeks to impose a restriction on the powers of state and local governments to operate within constitutionally approved parameters. Now, the new guidelines have no legal basis under the NFIU Act and are contrary to the constitutional provisions which put the state joint local government account under the legislation of the state houses of assembly. The guidelines will also be detrimental to the interest of the state and the local governments by crippling programs such as the Universal Basic Education Program, primary health care under one roof, as well as the payment of the salaries of teachers, medical doctors, and health workers, among others, which are primarily funded by state governments. The governors also took their grudge pilgrimage to Aso Rock, warning of litigation after coming out of their protest meeting with the president, with many sensing that the president might have settled for a political solution to resolve what should have been jurisprudentially settled. The governors visit the Aso Rock, this time led by Yari's replacement, Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State, and obviously got them there, and they got their desire as nothing was ever heard again about the implementation and enforcement of the controversial guidelines. A worried opinionists and the advocacy groups slammed the president for allegedly placing politics ahead of public administration by tactically conceding to the governors demand that the NFIU should be stopped from implementing the restrictive guidelines, despite the widely held assumption that credible intelligence must have informed the move by the federal agency to try and keep governors away from the council's fund. Wow. For those that can those that can relate, those that can understand what this simply means that there is war between the president, governors, and whoever have ears to hear the BUHARi governors war. Yeah, we want to wait for the part 2 or the second half or thereabout. This one we're going to draw the curtain. I would like you to share your views in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for listening and God bless you.